When people talk about loneliness, they usually imagine a lack of company, a lack of friends, a lack of relationships, a lack of social interaction. But loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. For most of history, human beings spend large portions of their lives in solitude. A shepherd with the wind, a scholar with his books, a monk in a mountain temple. Human life was often quiet, often isolated. And yet, many people did not experience loneliness the way we do today. Ancient Chinese philosopher Zhuangzi hit it at why. He wrote, 独与天地精神往来. A rough translation would be to commune with the spirit of Mother Nature, or perhaps more simply, to remain in conversation with the large world itself. It's a strange idea to modern ears. Today, we assume connection comes primarily from other people. Zhuangzi suggests something very different. He believed a person could be physically alone and yet remain deeply connected to nature, to reality, to the changing flow of life itself. Being alone did not necessarily mean being disconnected. And perhaps this is exactly what modern people have forgotten. Our ancestors spent much of their lives alone. A farmer walking in the fields, a fisherman drifting across the open water, a traveler crossing mountains with no one beside him. And yet many of them never felt as lonely as we do. Why? Because they were alone with the world. We are alone with our screens. Today, we can reach almost anyone instantly. We carry thousands of words in our pockets. We are surrounded by messages, notifications, content, and endless opportunities to connect. And yet, loneliness is rising almost everywhere, not just among the elderly, not just among people who live alone, but among young people, professionals, students, even people in relationships. Something doesn't add up. If connection is everywhere, why does the loneliness feel deeper than ever? And as artificial intelligence becomes more capable, many people feel this feeling will only grow stronger. Because the question is no longer, how do we connect with more people? The question is, what happens when human beings lose their connection to life itself? Today we are connected to everyone, and connected deeply to almost no one. Relationships once grew like trees, slowly, patiently, over years of shared experience. Family, neighbors, co-workers, friends. Roots grew beneath the surface. The connection was not always exciting, but it was real. Today, many relationships look more like Wi-Fi. Instant, convenient, always available, and easily disconnected. The singular is stronger than ever. The rules are shallower than ever. We know more people, but fewer people truly know us. We exchange information constantly, but rarely share our inner lives. And so, a new form of loneliness appears. Not because nobody is talking to us, but because nobody is truly entering our lives. Most people think loneliness comes from isolation, but often it comes from something else. A lack of witness. Someone who sees your fears, your struggles, your contradictions, your unfinished thoughts. Someone who knows who you are. When there is nothing to gain, modern life creates many audiences, but very few witnesses. Thousands may see your posters, almost nobody sees your soul, and that creates a loneliness that technology cannot solve. Because loneliness is not the absence of communication. It is the absence of genuine presence. This is where the future becomes even more complicated. Many people worry that AI will replace jobs, but perhaps a deeper concern is this. AI may replace relationships we never realized we needed. The coworker you casually talk to every morning. The colleague who notices when you are having a bad day. The small conversations that seem meaningless. The moments of shared frustration, shared burden, shared humility. As work becomes increasingly automated, many people may find themselves alone with the computer, a handful of AI agents, and very few reasons to interact with other human beings. Productivity may increase, efficiency may improve, but something invisible may disappear. The feeling of belonging to the human world. And this may become one of the greatest psychological challenges of the coming century. How do we remain human in a world that increasingly no longer requires a human connection? Ancient Chinese philosophy approached this problem differently. It did not assume that loneliness could be solved simply by surrounding yourself with people, because people can be surrounded by crowds. Zhuangzi believed that much of human suffering begins when we become separated from the large flow of life itself. Separated from nature, separated from stillness, separated from our own minds, separated from the present moment. When that happens, we begin demanding that other people feel a void they were never meant to feel. And no relationship can carry that weight forever. Perhaps modern loneliness feels so overwhelming because we are not only disconnected from each other, we are disconnected from ourselves. The modern world teaches us to fear being alone. The moment silence appears, we reach for a screen. The moment boredom arrives, we search for stimulation. The moment solitude appears, we try to escape it. But what if solitude is not the enemy? What if our inability to sit quietly with ourselves is the real problem? Zhuangzi once imagined a person wandering freely with the wind, the mountains, the rivers, and the changing seasons. Not because he had escaped humility, but because he no longer depended on constant distraction to feel alive. Perhaps the opposite of loneliness is not companionship. Perhaps it is a connection to your own life, your own experience, your own place in the world. The modern world promises endless connection, yet loneliness continues to grow. Maybe the answer is not to connect more, Maybe it is to reconnect differently. To other people, yes, but also to ourselves. Because the deepest loneliness is not being alone. The deepest loneliness is becoming a stranger to your own existence. And perhaps the wisdom of Zhuangzi still matters today, not because he teaches us how to find more people, but because he reminds us how to stop losing ourselves. The greatest loneliness is not living without others. It is living without a relationship to your own life.